Hey everyone, welcome back to another numerology forecast video. I'm in the same place that I was last time because this is where I'm comfortable and I've decided that's my priority from now on. It's been, I've been very stressed, and it's nice to be able to not have to worry about making a cinematic experience for you guys, but instead just being able to casually turn on the camera and talk about numerology or whatever with you guys. In fact, I almost made a vlog for this month. A lot has been on my mind, and something that I've been thinking a lot about recently was what I touched upon in March's video. So if you haven't seen the March 2023 numerology forecast video yet, please stop, just stop what you're doing real quick and catch that. But I talked a lot about identity, and I mentioned a lot about how we tend to give all of ourselves, those places that we give in terms of our job, and we give ourselves too much in those places, as well as, friendships, relationships, or just any kind of circumstance that we find ourselves in. And it's just March, and it's still March while I'm filming this video. It has felt just very, very frustrating to me, kind of just bobbing between feeling like I've had enough and like not feeling like I can handle anything outside of a certain scope, if that makes any sense, to not just like go into too much personal details. But it's frustrating. I think, I did hint at it. I did talk about it in last month's video when I said take your power back, and we really need to do that. I almost started filming a vlog like after work one day just to vent about it, but here's the deal, guys. Like, when you have a job, the point of having a job, like the exchange that is supposed to happen, that they've tried to convince us is this radical idea, is that in order for me to do my job well, or even at all, in order for us to do our job, that requires food, shelter, a place to live, and transportation. Jobs no longer care about whether or not they give you an arbitrary number, for the most part, depending on where you're working and what field you're in, and they say that's enough without any consideration at all. And it's been like this for a very long time, and with each year it gets worse because it doesn't change. So now we're in this place where many of us are working at jobs where they're not paying us enough to do our job, and they're gaslighting us and trying to make us believe that you can afford a place to live on that salary, and you can afford savings so that you can replace your car so that you can continue to go to work. And that's just not the case anymore. It's very much just like, here's an arbitrary number, like I said, and you figure that out, and that's on you. That's not our fault. That's on you. And this just doesn't make any sense anymore. And it's what I'm saying is going to upset a lot of people, and people hear kind of inflammatory stuff like this and can't really understand the full scope of it, and think that they get caught up on the exception to the rule instead of the fact that a rule is being stated. And that is that when it comes to your job, as horrible as it is, they don't care about whether you would die on your way to work tomorrow. Like, you could not wake up tomorrow, they would immediately have a replacement in their system. You are a number. Okay, human resources is this thing in which humans are a resource and they are managed. That's pretty much what that translates to these days. And that is all. So we are killing ourselves trying to figure out how to get the very basics in life at the cost of everything, at the cost of our health, our mental and physical health, our safety even, because not having secure housing is a safety issue. And they're gonna fight tooth and nail. Our entire political system, our entire work culture is gonna fight tooth and nail and make us think that that is our fault, and it is not. So yeah, I would get on the Gen Z millennial bandwagon if I were you, and not try to figure out how you no longer have to give literally every single aspect of your life to work anymore, because it's not paying the bills. It's not making sure that you can continue to do your job well. So that's just something that I wanted to add. That's a very specific issue that we are facing globally, but especially, with the term quiet quitting, that's like a thing now where people are just doing the very bare minimum and, what is asked of them, and that's it. And you don't have to feel guilty. I'm giving you this permission right now. You don't have to feel guilty about everything related to your job, because it's it's not a fair transaction. It hasn't been for the longest time, and they've taken our lives from us. They really have. We've created this imaginary monetary system where money only has value because we think it does. It's a fiat system. It's not really tied to anything real anymore. We have this concept that's completely separate from the real world, which is the natural world, that has been forced down our throats. And then on top of that, while they made it impossible for you to live without that system, they're taking every single second that we have in our days for some other interest, for someone else's interest. So that doesn't make sense anymore. We need a revolution in that. And with that, I think that this segues fairly well, depending on who you are, into April. Because in March, that was the 7-1 combination. We focused on ourselves. We focused on probably taking like a little bit more initiative in certain area in our life, whatever that was. Now we have to consider what makes us happy, like what is emotionally fulfilling in your heart, but through an analytical perspective, not just like having good vibes. This is very much a deep analysis, what we're doing this year. And that's why it is good to talk about how this translates to our lives. And what I just talked about in this video was a glimpse, was just a tiny piece of that, of this issue that's much, much bigger and is hard to wrap our heads around, honestly. So anyway, now we're in April. Okay, so this is less about taking action, more about our inner emotions. The world needs to strike a balance with this vicious, dark underbelly. And the needs of the human race, I think, just finally need to be recognized. And I think that we, during this time, during April 2023, can perform a kind of analysis of how we're feeling, why we're feeling what we're feeling. We've already been feeling, I think, exhausted, a lot of us. And maybe it's not your job. Maybe you're really lucky and you love your job and your job is not the problem. It's some other personal matter. But I know a lot of us are pretty exhausted. Emotions could run high this month. That's really normal. We need to look at them and address them. So if that's the case, that's why. The world needs to slow down too. This could be a slower month. I think March went by very fast. I think 1 months or years tend to go by pretty quickly, but 2 is always a time where we need to slow down, and perhaps even the day-to-day activities will feel like they're going on a little bit longer than normal. I'm going to briefly interrupt this video to give you a few announcements before I forget. Patreon, if you've been following these monthly, sign up for my Patreon service where I give these personal monthly readings and I talk about you individually, because these videos are not personal. This is just like what the world is going through, and a lot of it will probably not resonate, and that's because you're going through your own trajectory. So that's what that service is for. It's only $10 a month. All the links are in the description. I might try live streaming there from now on, because I'm overwhelmed by my life. I'm very stressed, and I'm trying to find ways that I can continue to do what I do without it being, just like eliminating a few steps in between. I think that would make a huge difference. And I think that Patreon recently brought out this new feature of being able to directly link a YouTube live stream through Patreon. So I might test that out even actually after I film this video, and, just give a card reading for my Patreon supporters. So, if I can figure that out, I'll try to integrate that into either like after a work day or during the weekend when I'm not giving these monthly readings, so that you guys get something extra throughout the month. Anyone who wants to support this channel or what I'm doing. And subscribe to my Substack. I spent the entire morning scheduling drafts of the next part of Metanoia, the book that I'm writing. If you sign up for the paid subscription now, you can unlock a bunch of content, but I've also been trying to publish more free content and building that as well. So just become a free subscriber, if you're curious, and worry about the rest later if you happen to want to read Metanoia. But yeah, I just wanted to announce that really quick. And going back to April, sorry for the interruption again, but going back to April, another thing that's worth mentioning is that the 2 and the 7 are very different numbers, but I noticed that they get to the same place a lot of the time. And they have this kind of similar vein and theme of love. It's just that when you look at it through the number 7, it's from this deep knowingness and wisdom. It's intellectual. And through the 2, it's kind of like a naive, completely heart-centered kind of love. Indiscriminate, you're just completely free and uninhibited, and kind of like a childlike love. But I've seen this topic through the lens of both. Somehow they get to the same exact place. So that's pretty interesting. I just wanted to mention that. The mind-heart dichotomy comes into play this month. Getting them on the same page. We might know what we want now, or like how we're feeling, but maybe there is some dissonance with that. Maybe we need to get those on the same page. The world needs to strike a balance at this time in some aspect. What that is, I don't really know. I can't really be that specific. I don't know your life, but some general advice I have here is to, obviously take it slower this month. It doesn't have to all be accomplished in April like we've, I think, been trying to do in March. Like if you're exhausted, take at least one weekend day every single week where you do absolutely nothing and don't feel guilty about it, like how I do to myself. Because we need that day. We need that day in bed sometimes. I have here that we have an entire year to reach our goals. It doesn't have to all happen this month. So let us focus on what's right in front of us and not get overwhelmed. Another piece of general advice that I have for this month is to try to just be kind with your internal thoughts. Maybe they're not nurturing. Most of us don't really have very nurturing thoughts. We're very hard on ourselves, or we're expecting the worst, or it's usually not great up in our heads. And in the 2-month, we see that translating to how we're feeling on a whole new level. And we have to address that. That is a very, very deep topic. with many subtopics that I can't get into today. But just keep that in mind. You know, try to be kind with your language, your internal language, your thoughts, how we talk to ourselves, you know, and what others are going through as well, keeping that in mind. And it could be a difficult month, because when things get serious and the mind and heart is involved, it's dense sometimes. It's heavy. So I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm kind of standing in place these days. And another common thing that can happen with any 2-month is this challenge with patience. I think that eventually, guys, the money will come, the job will come, you know, the date will come, and we all are kind of just waiting, a lot of us, for something or things to improve, and we are worried, I think, and we think, will it be okay? So if you know, just make a space for you to feel whatever you're feeling this month, and it'll all sort itself out eventually. You have to make a mental space for things to be able to strike a balance, so that we do have to play a part in that. Somehow it's not just going to happen to us. We are very much participating in that process actively. So I think that's all that I have to say for April. And it did, I think, tie into March this time. You know, I do kind of think that this is very much an evolving scenario in which I hope that we aren't too burdened with whatever it is that we have going on, to where we can't even navigate through the emotions without you know, anguish, or without, you know, what have you. That's another thing too. Like, a lot of us might get sick this month. We have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, and we might need to do some serious work taking care of ourselves, not just like, you know, the easy stuff. Sometimes this is hard. Sometimes looking after yourself and your emotional needs is real work, and you have to make time for that. So yeah, that's for now, that's all I have to say. Sign up for my Patreon service. There may or may not be a tarot reading there. I'm gonna see if I can get the live stream feature to work for me on Patreon. We'll see how that goes. Let me know if you have any questions, and let me know what this year is like for you so far, or how are you doing today? You know, that's a good place to start. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this long-winded video. Thank you so much for being here and watching my channel and subscribing to my Substack and everything that you guys done for me. I see you, and I look forward to, you know, going through the rest of this 7-year with you guys. It's one step at a time. For now, we're going to move slowly through April, okay? So I'll see you all very soon. Take care.